All right, guys, we're out here. It's hot, humid. We got a tropical system off to the coast as well again. We're gonna try to get this up as quickly as possible before the rain comes again. First flights are always fun, guys. All right, let's take her up. First flight. All right, guys, we're back in the studio, and that was a pretty amazing flight, guys. Pretty interesting series of events that happened to me while I was flying this. All right, so let's start from the beginning. This drone here is pretty awesome, guys. This thing is, in my opinion, so powerful for its size and what it can carry. So, all right, let's get down to it. So the first flight was pretty amazing, as I said, took it off, and this thing was so nimble. I don't know if it's the rates in here, but it just felt really nimble, and that's why I said the performance was really good. And yes, guys, this is my first time using a digital FPV system, so I don't know if this has an impact on how I felt about the drone overall. The first thing I noticed was a little bit of vibration. So took it off, flew it, and as you can see sometimes in the FPV camera, there was just some vibrations. So at first I thought it was the propellers, but these are new propellers on this. I mean, there is a case that a propeller could be not balanced properly, but I didn't notice that. But I did continue the flight, and it flew amazing. Took it around near the kids' park, turned back around, and it flew great. By the third or fourth minute, I got a feel for the drone, the responsiveness on the drone. So I flew okay. I was using my jumper T-Light here, and I was using the Crossfire module here, so transmission range wouldn't or shouldn't be a factor. So halfway through that flight, I decided to do some acro, put it into aero acro mode. Yeah, guys, this thing flew really great. As I said initially, the same response I had on the initial takeoff is what I had when I put it into acro mode. This thing just felt very light and nimble, like you touch it, do a flip, and it would just roll. There was a little bit of washout on here, but for the most part, I do think initially the first couple of loops I did, that was also pilot induced. Usually if you have a drone and you have it going straight up and then you have it come down straight as well, there will be some airflow going across the propellers, causing it to chop the air, and that could influence the flight controller and give it some wobbles there. And that one, as I said, it was just me messing around, and I got around 7 minutes. So that was pretty impressive. Now that was with an 850 milliamp hour battery. They do recommend using the 750. So it's probably a little bit heavier, but it still felt great. Now the second battery put on here, went for a flight again. I had a feel for the drone. I had a better feel for the goggles here. So I figured I'd do a little bit more aggressive maneuvers. Try to let this drone stretch his legs a little bit. But yes, I did try to see how far this can go. I didn't want to go really far, obviously. And sure enough, controller was great. The control link was awesome. Obviously, we're using Crossfire here. And the VTX, or the digital system from the goggles, was great. Never once did I have a breakup. Just amazing, guys. So yeah, I did turn around and come back towards where I was sitting, and the camera was amazing. Now, obviously we're here in Florida, the weather's pretty decent, a lot of sunlight, so the camera did perform well. We're talking about the Vista Polo camera here by Caddx, and this thing is an amazing camera. It's really sharp, really tack focused. The colors in this is pretty great as well. It is obviously sharper than the analog system. I've never flown Nebula Pro. In fact, Nebula Pro is out of stock. I don't think they're gonna make those again. A lot of guys have used a Nebula Nano, and that seems to be, from what I see, a little bit worse than this camera. So this is a good middle of the road camera when it comes to the digital system here. So the second half of this second flight was where, yeah, we did some more aggressive maneuvers. This thing does build your confidence. My confidence was growing throughout the day. And just in the second flight, I started doing more maneuvers. Try to shoot some more gaps, and that's where I got into some trouble here. I did get into a pretty aggressive crash with this drone. Now that was all pilot induced, that was just me flying. I crashed this pretty hard into a tree, and it landed into some shrubbery. Now, okay, big deal, you know, it didn't hit concrete. You're right, I have no broken parts in here, no broken propellers, but what it did do is, this thing landed awkwardly into some plants, and it did fry the flight controller. So that was just a weird, awkward freak accident. And yeah, you know, the first thing I did was just try to grab it, and it was hot, like really hot. I actually kind of burnt my fingers a little bit, and that's when I knew how severe the situation was. And there is still some black marks on here. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see some black marks. I did try to clean this whole drone obviously afterwards, and it still has some, so that's how hot this thing got, pretty hot, which fried the whole board. But I did have to get a new flight controller and then change that, and then once I did change it, then we had some issues with the motors as well, so I did have to buy some new motors. So yeah, this is essentially a new drone, guys, hence the reason why this review took so long to make. We did go back out for some more flights, and it flew just like the first two flights. Really responsive, really smooth. In fact, it felt better. Now, I did change the propellers on this. I did use the HQ at first. Now I'm using the GEM fans. And I was just trying to see if I could eliminate that vibration from the first two flights. There was a little bit of vibration, but it wasn't as noticeable. In fact, it wasn't as bad as the first flight at all, not even close. And now that I have some chance, I did fly at least 4 or 5 packs with this new flight controller here. This drone is amazing, guys. My opinion still stays true to the fact that this thing is very light and nimble. It's very powerful, guys. I've flown some other 3.5-inch freestyle drones, and this one seems to be a little more powerful. They are using the same motors. These are 1404 motors and 3800 kV, so they are similar from other manufacturers. This one just seems to be more agile. It could be the rates, yes, guys. One thing I will say though, this thing doesn't seem as smooth or as direct. The vibration was the first thing, obviously, but it's not as stable as the other drones. The other drone seems to be a little more telepathic. Where you want it to go is where it goes. This one here can drift a little bit, and that could be from the weather, it could be from the tune. Sometimes you do a dive and yeah, it gets disturbed. You might point straight down and do a roll, and it might not stay in the same orientation, or if it's inverted, it may be a little bit different. So it might be the flight controller, it might be the tune that comes straight from the factory. So with that said, I've averaged between 7 and 8 minutes of flights throughout my 5 flights after I have repaired this drone. So this thing is really, really efficient. That's amazing, guys. Honestly, some of the other 3.5-inch drones get between 4 and 5 minutes. This thing averaged between 7 and 8. Now, BetaFPV is saying that you get between 11 and 13 minutes of just regular smooth flying, and between 4 and 6 minutes of freestyle flying. So this thing does fall in the middle, which makes sense because I was doing a little bit of both. I was doing both regular scenic flying and some also acro maneuvers. So it makes sense why I would get an average of 7 to 8 minutes. So the battery life on this thing is perfect. After the crash, it was almost like, man, this is a pretty cool drone. Do I really want to put the money into repairing it? And yeah, obviously it was worth it. It was well worth the time and energy to repair this quad here. It's a fun drone, guys. I would say this is probably more fun than the competitor's drone. Is it as smooth? I don't know. I don't think it's as smooth, guys. This thing it's a good drone though. So with that said, this drone here gets 4 loaves out of 5 or 4 stars out of 5. I'm still amazed at the performance, how light it feels, how nimble it is. The performance on this is great. I am pretty excited about the 3.5-inch drone segment. It just seems to be the sweet spot. It's not too large and not too small. It doesn't get affected by the wind too much, but it still kind of has the weight and momentum of a 5-inch drone. So this thing is pretty nimble. But yeah, guys, this thing is a pretty good drone, good score. I do wish that it did come in analog. I do wish the tune was a little bit better. But yeah, this is pretty cool, guys. So yeah, guys, what do you think about this X-Knight35? I think it's a pretty cool drone. If you have any questions or comments about this drone, leave them down below. And if you got anything of value from this video or any of the series of the X-Knight35, hit that like button. By the way, if you made it this far, I appreciate that and thank you. And because of that, I'll be doing a small giveaway here. I have some BetaFPV keychains and stickers. So if you're interested in that, just hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below what you think about this drone and something to the nature of in for stickers. I'll use a random generator and pick the top 3 and then send you guys some keychains and stickers. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video. Peace.